Welcome to the Suddenly Marriage Podcast with Ray and Natasha Watson, where we help couples navigate the joys and challenges of their suddenly supernatural marriage.
Our marriage story is quite unique. We met, got engaged, and married all within 4 months. It was a suddenly God-ordained marriage, but of course, we've had our share of challenges. Join us for a candid conversation rooted in the Word of God that will help you build a stronger marriage bond.
Yeah, and before we kick off this week's episode, we want to shout out our sponsor, Elohai International Publishing and Media. If you've been wanting to write and publish a book and need help mastering your message and sharing your story, contact us at ElohaiPublishing.com. That's ELOHAI Publishing.com. All right, let's get into this week's episode. Hey everybody, welcome back to Suddenly Marriage Podcast. It's Natasha.
It's Ray J. How y'all doing?
All right, so we have a super exciting episode. I don't know if it's exciting. I say everything's exciting, y'all, but it's exciting to me. But today's episode is really good. We're going to be talking with our good friends, Daniel and Shekha Bradley. And our topic is in sickness or in health, and in health. In sickness and in health.
Yes.
Is that how it's said in the wedding vows?
That's how it's said in the wedding vows.
Okay. So we're going back to what we talk about in wedding vows, what we decree to each other as spouses. But our special guests, Dan and Shekha, are going to help us unpack this sickness and in health topic and what that looks like when you really have to walk through it. But before we get into this week's episode, we have a new review.
Yes, let's hear it.
Okay. So Shay says, I love it. She gives our podcast 5 stars. This podcast has been an absolute joy to listen to from episode 1. This podcast is full of biblical jewels, kingdom principles, funny banter, and faith nuggets. These episodes have covered topics that I needed to hear and prepare myself for. I'm always looking forward to the new episodes. All right. I love that.
That was a good review.
It was so good. So you all, we want to encourage you to keep listening every week, but also to share your reviews as you listen. Let us know your favorite episodes. Let us know, if you are getting any jewels out of this, because we just want to know what you think. And make sure you're following us on Suddenly Marriage on Instagram at Suddenly Marriage.
Yes.
Okay, without further ado, let's bring on our special guest for today. Hey, guys. Hi.
Hey, what's up?
All right, so we have Dan and Shekha Bradley. The Bradleys in the house. Y'all, can you introduce yourselves? Tell our audience just a little bit about you and I guess how you met, right?
Hi, I'm Shekha.
I'm Daniel. Nice to meet you guys, who I don't know in podcast land.
And we've been married 6 years, but we've been together 11 years. And we met through a mutual friend. Shout out to Nia.
I'm gonna start the fact check right now. So that's fact.
Hey, Nia.
Hey, Nia. We met through a mutual friend and her named Nia. It was a really awkward first date that turned into a lifetime. I told her kind of shortly after I met her that I was gonna marry her. She told me she wasn't really feeling me like that. Prayer changes things. And we had a really good, relationship that I think had a lot of lessons in it. How would you describe our before marriage relationship?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I would say when we first met, probably only like a month or 2 in, we both said that we only date exclusively. And so I think for the first few months, I wasn't really calling him like my boyfriend. But as I was talking to my friends, they kept, when I was describing our relationship, they were like, Shekha, that's your boyfriend.
But after which thing, though?
After we went on our first trip together.
Right. We went to...
Yeah, let them...
Oh, I'm sorry. My bad. Go ahead. I talk too much. My bad.
Sometimes.
No, okay, so you went on a trip before you were even boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yeah, so I had to pull out the big dogs. Remember, she told me she wasn't feeling me, right? So I had to change that. So she was like, yeah, I've never been to Disney World, and that would be cool. I was like, oh, for real? She's like, yeah. I'm like, well, look, we going in July then.
That's what I'm talking about.
And you going with me. I'm taking you places. And that trip was awkward too.
So how did y'all like fall for each other? How did you know that, each other was the one?
That is very tough. As Daniel mentioned, I think because we started dating exclusively so early on that it became very serious really fast. And I was headed to graduate school that fall, like right before we met, I got accepted, and I knew I was moving away. So I think I was also trying to keep him like at arm's length for that reason, but that didn't work, and we, just became closer and closer. I think that we really felt. I think Daniel fell very early on, probably like 2 months.
2 weeks.
2 months. 2 months in, I remember he said, "I love you" first, but it was kind of like an accident. Like he like let it slip.
I pretended like it was an accident just in case I had to pull it back.
Yo, Dan, same thing happened with me. I accidentally said it, and then
Right. It was like it was like an olive juice. It was like olive juice. Oh my God, me too. Yeah, me too, girl. Like if not, then it was like, can you order some olive juice?
I think he said, "I love you," and I was like, "Oh, I love you too. Bye." Like it was like at the end of a phone call. So
after he said it, were you like, "Oh my gosh, did he just say he loved me"? Were you like, was it a big deal?
it wasn't a big deal. I think I knew already. Like I knew that he was one. So one thing for sure about Daniel early on and still is that he makes it very clear how into me he is. And there was no guessing game, right? Like it was no guess. There was no question in my mind that he was like head over heels. And so when he said it, I responded like, "Oh, love you too." And I wasn't surprised. And I don't think I was, and maybe in the moment I didn't realize it, how serious or how much of a big deal it was. But I later, again, talking to my friends, like, "Oh, he said I love you," and they were like, "What? He said I love you? Like that's a big deal." So yeah, I think I got it at that point. But when he first said it, I wasn't.
Shout out to the friend group. Specifically, shout out Refined and the Shuz.
I think we're going to talk more
they
about
kept me,
friends.
They
later.
kept me in the pocket, baby. I love all y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all, third last one of y'all.
Yeah. So I mean, I always say that I fell in love with him because of how he loved me, and how he treated me. There was no guessing game, and yeah, I mean, he went for it. Like, yeah,
it was intentional.
Yes. Very intentional.
Nah, I was forceful. Like it was like a strong arm love.
Okay, no.
Okay,
not physically. Sorry.
So before we get into the questions about today's topic for sickness in health. In sickness and in, I can't get that right. I don't know why. In sickness and in health, I want you to talk about the actual proposal, because I was friends with Daniel, and of course Shekha. We became friends after that. But I was friends with Daniel, and I remember him telling me like, "I'm gonna propose to Shekha, and this was about to happen." So talk about the proposal and Shekha, your reaction.
Go ahead.
Oh no, yeah, this is great. Talk about your reaction. Okay, so somebody told me, like very early on, what the stipulations were with her proposal.
Okay.
Not gonna say who, but somebody let me know what it was. I have to have my friends and family present. In my head, when I imagined it, I was gonna be alone somewhere with her, so that if I asked her and she said no, I could be like, "I asked her that. What she talking about?" But she had me be on front, and then she challenged me, right, and was like, I couldn't surprise her. So anybody who knows me knows I love a good challenge. I didn't get to answer the question about the head over heels thing. It was because Shekha presented a challenge from day one, right? And I love a challenge in any area of my life. And she presented a challenge, like even from picking the first date. It's like, "So what kind of food you like?" It's like, "I don't know. Why don't you tell me?" "So what kind of place do you want to go? Why don't you show me what you want to pick and let me see if I like it?" So I'm all extra nervous on the first date, to be honest. Like, and it really went left, Natasha, if you remember that story. It went way left. They didn't have what she wanted to eat, and it was just, listen. Anyway, so on the proposal, I wanted everything to go right? And of course it didn't. We get there day of, their flight is late. coming back.
Say
I'm building up. The people don't know. Natasha know the story. I'm building up. And so I wanted to get a good thing going, right? So I called shout out to, if you're an Instagram follower on at Halima Peru. I called her, a good friend of mine, asked her, listen, it's this Beyonce song, 1+1. And like that to me is gonna say to Sheikah what I want her to hear when I'm proposing. And then we were just talking about this, whether either one of us kept the phone. I read a poem while it was going on, and I had some music. Didn't I have a guitar or something too? So I had an acoustic guitar player too. And so what happened is I had told her girlfriends knew what was going to happen. Her line sisters, again, shout out to all of them. They really helped me as corporates planning this whole thing. Like for months, they knew when she didn't know. And so they went out of town for one of their other line sisters' birthday to wherever they went, right? And they came back, and when they were coming back, you know, we're there, and mind you, it's like me, the singer, the guitar player, and Tosh, were you there too? I think you were there too. Like 40 people though there, like waiting. The baggage came, like, hey, what's up? We married. And so as she came around, she's like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Here, no, man, I mean this hand here, take it. I can't believe it. Put it on this finger here. And yeah, and I was real, it's always special to me because like she said, I am definitely head over heels for her. I definitely like feeling in sickness and in health. I feel sick when we're not healthy. Like when we as a couple are not doing well, it bugs me. Even when 90% of the time it's probably my fault, it still bugs me when we're off. Like I sometimes even can physically feel it when we're off. So yeah, I just wanted it to go well, and I think it did.
It did go very well.
I sent y'all
years later, over 6 years later, you guys are still here, going strong. So let's get into in sickness and in health.
So we have some questions for you guys. So talk about your health challenges that you walked through together.
So I could start it out, and maybe you could talk about how you felt about it. So I think even at the relationship point, we kind of found out maybe the year we got engaged that I was sick, that I had been born with genetic like heart disease thing. My heart is enlarged, and everybody knows I'm a man of faith. I'm not sick, whatever. And so anyway, I one day in 2018, I thought I had a cold. Everybody thought I had a cold, and then next thing I know, I'm waking up however many days later in the ICU to people being surprised that I opened my eyes. So obviously I don't know all of the details of that, but that was like the tipping point. So I'll let you talk about what I couldn't see because I was asleep. So what happened?
Sure. So Daniel has, like he mentioned, you know, technically heart failure is what it is. And like he said, it kind of started before 2018. So even before we said I do, there were signs of heart failure, but it wasn't severe. It was just, you know, a little bit here and there. He wouldn't
Just
feel
rhythm
well.
there.
Yeah. I think it presented like bronchitis, like he would cough a lot. So we did have to go to the emergency room a lot, which I hate. I mean, who likes the emergency room? But like, I really loathe the emergency room. But we did that a lot during our dating relationship. And then there was one night in the emergency room where a doctor told him, you know, that it was an enlarged heart. He had heart failure. I was there. This was at like 3:00 in the morning one night in the emergency room. And to his point, we both heard what the doctor said and just kind of, oh, it'll be okay. You know, like kept the faith. It'll be fine.
Well, because remember the first African guy said I was going to die. And then remember that's when Dr. Carlos came out.
Yeah.
And that's what gave us that.
Yeah. So they, you know, it was a pretty grim diagnosis like early on, but we both heard it and just kind of kept the faith and immediately thought, you know, no, that's not going to happen to you. Like God is going to protect us and God is going to be with you. God can heal your heart. He made your heart. He's going to heal you. And that was probably like, that was before we got married. So that might've been in 2014. Then we got married in 2015. Another health challenge, kind of by the way, my father was very ill on his deathbed
The
all of
whole engagement.
2015. So he went into the hospital. He was there at the proposal. We have
Hmm.
him on video. Like, he loved Daniel. He met Daniel. He, knew him very well. He was at the proposal, and then that we were planning the wedding, and that April he went into the hospital in 2015 and never came home. So the entire year that we were planning the wedding, he was in the hospital. And then a month before we got married, in October of 2015, we actually had a private ceremony in the hospital, just immediate family for my father. He got all dressed up in his hospital bed and everything. And that we always talk about that, because then he passed. No, we got married November 6th, 2015, and my father passed away November 19th, 2015. And that is something that's on my side of the marriage. And Daniel
Hmm.
was very present, extremely supportive to this day, just extremely present. Just anything I needed, he was right there. I mean, just like this, like we are right now, he was right by my side the entire time. And so that happened first, right? That happened in 2015. And then like 2016, 2017, Daniel started to feel a little sicker. Our focus kind of became on his health. So the summer of 2018, he, like he said, had a cold. We thought it was just a regular cold. We had been working with cardiologists and everything. They told us to wait. Oh, he can come in on Monday or Tuesday. And that Saturday, I think he he couldn't keep his eyes
Just the
open.
Monday. Y'all took me to the appointment.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yes. Sorry. It was a Monday. So we go to the appointment, and they immediately like rush him to the emergency room from like the doctor's office part. Then they rush him upstairs to like the cardiac ICU, and it was traumatic. Like, it was very traumatic for all of us involved. He immediately, they intubated him. He was on life support. I couldn't talk to him. I couldn't do anything with him. And I think it lasted for a while. It was like a week or so. The details are a little fuzzy now, because it's been, 4 years, thank God, almost 5. But he was on life support. And I mean, just everything you can imagine about how I felt is definitely how I felt. Like, it was traumatic, it was hard, it was out of nowhere, kind of. Like, he was sick, but he wasn't that sick. So this was definitely like out of nowhere. It was spiritually very challenging for me, and just, gosh, that's it. So then that happened 2018, and then he's been recovering since. He's had surgery since then. It happened again in 2019, everyone. So again, 2019, at the end of 2019, he something similar, felt a little sick, had a nosebleed, went to the hospital, and ended up in complete organ failure, and just on life support again. And the second time was probably more traumatic, because who goes on life support twice, right? And while in the hospital, I'm a very candid person and logistical. I think, like, I ask like logistical questions and very candid. And I asked the doctor, like, is this it? Like, what are you saying? And they just kept saying, he's very sick. Your husband is very sick. Like, what are you saying? Like, okay. And they're like, out of this entire hospital, like, he's probably one of the sickest patients in the entire hospital. So I'm asking, like, do I need to be telling his family to come say goodbye? And the doctors kind of, doctors will never really answer. They'll never say like yes or no, black or white. But they will lean or hint towards like, yes, you should, call family. So yeah, that's a good summary, I think, of all the health challenges so far.
Well, and then I think with the second time too, was because I woke up and I had additional struggle. The first time when I woke up, it was like nothing happened. I woke up, I had to try to walk again, all of that kind of stuff, and I see that kind of lightweight now, because as hard as that sounded, when I woke up the second time, I was on 24-hour dialysis. I had no function. All this from a nosebleed. Right? Not I was going in the hospital about my heart. It was they thought I had an infection. I'm laughing with the doctor because I didn't have the infection. Oh yeah, we're gonna send you home. I laughed and some blood came out. And he was like, oh, I ain't going home now. And I stayed in there, and my nose bled for like 3 days before they intubated. Like straight, literally, like, all types of stuff. And so when I woke up and had all of those challenges, one thing I remember was um she could call on me every day, checking on progress, right? And as simple as that sounds, when you in when you're in the hospital, and at that time they were being very black and white with me. Your kidneys are not going to work until we transplant them. Sorry, your kidneys are not going to work until we transplant them. You are probably not going to be able to leave the hospital right now because you already have. At that time, I had an LVAD, I had a PIC line, and I mean, I was sick before I even got back on. Like 2019, I think I was in the hospital. They said like 19 or 20 times that year, and we talking about for a week or two each time I was in the hospital. And so it was bad, but it was good in that I got to see where the lies were that the devil was telling me, right? I got to see how supportive my village was, and at the top of the village was this beautiful woman who had organized and worked with my family and friends, and to the point, Natasha, I don't know if you remember, you were in Tanzania then, and I woke up, you had people in Tanzania praying for me, and the strength that has every time she tells a story, I just I can't imagine me having her had to do all of that without me helping her. Even though I was the sick one, I kind of felt guilty being sick.
Yeah. I want to get back to that. Sheka, whew, you almost you were still newlyweds, when Dan first got sick, and even the second time, you had only been married for 3 years at that point. And that's not how you picture marriage, right? Even though we go through these vows and we say in sickness and in health, but whoever imagines the sickness part, you know what I mean? And so, Sheka, how have you remained strong through all of these challenges?
I don't feel strong all of the time. I think that it's definitely a situation where I have other people kind of have to tell me that, or say, like, you're handling this with such grace and such strength, because when you're in it, you're in it. And I was in it. Like, I was completely, like, I felt like I was drowning. So there were so many days where I literally felt like, between 2018 and the top of 2020, when he came home, that entire span, right? So almost like 18 months straight. There were so many days where I felt like I was drowning. I'm keeping my job, like I had a job. You know what I mean? I kept my job. I run a home baking business. Like, I was trying to keep that afloat. I told you my dad had just passed, so my mom, me and my sister were taking care of my mom. So it was a lot.
There were times when I was in the hospital and her mom was in the hospital. And we talking about, I was in the hospital in Baltimore, right? We live in Southern PG County. I was in Baltimore. Her mom was in La Plata, which is like way Southern PG County, right? And Sheka would get off from work, mind you, working all day, and then drive to La Plata to make sure her mom was straight, and then drive to Baltimore because I needed some apple juice.
Right. Yes, I'm glad you said that.
Like something as now looking back on it, like, boy, you know how blessed you was. But it was like I was telling somebody earlier, my hospital room, people came in there and would be like, man, you look like you got a whole commissary set up in here. Because I would have like everything. It was in my home cooked meals. I had the nurses bring me food up, everything.
She didn't ask us about that.
She could take care of my brother.
What happened, initially, and I always say it this way, we mentioned, when he first got the diagnosis, and even before we got married, our faith did come first. Like, we immediately prayed about it, right? You hear all those things about, I have been taught over the years, like, people try to do everything on their own and then take it to God. So take it to God first. Like, that's, what you're supposed to do. We did that. I did that. I took it to God first. The first thing we did was prayed and fasted and all these things. And so in 2018, when he went on life support, again, it was a surprise. I needed a minute to like process it. And so I think like the next day or like a couple hours later, not immediately, but like after I processed what was happening, I called on our spiritual leaders. So we have two pastors that married us, and their host of friends and family that are our spiritual village. And so I called them and I told them what was going on. They came to the hospital like superheroes. Like there's this long hallway from where the waiting room is to the elevator. And I just remember it was like midnight and three of them got off the elevator and just came to, and I just remember looking like, oh gosh, and I like just started crying and just, they were there for me. And so one thing that I will say completely is calling on our village is something that has kept me very strong. Our spiritual village. There was one point where they tell you if you don't hear anything from, this is the hospital, the doctors, they tell us if you don't hear anything, then it's good news. No news is good news, right? Is what they say. So the very first night when he went to the hospital, they put him on life support. I couldn't talk to him or anything. I started praying like immediately, right? Like I'm praying, I'm crying, like God, please let him get better. Please heal everything that's happening. Like just let him get better. Whatever that looks like heal his heart. And the doctors called me at 3:00 in the morning. It didn't get better. It got worse. And then they called again and they're like, it's getting worse and it's getting worse and it's getting worse. And so I just remember when our pastors got there, and one of them, who is like a father to me, he came in for a hug, and I remember when I hugged him and I said, I feel like I'm not saying the right things. Like I must not, my prayers are not doing it, so I need everybody to pray. Like I need you all to pray. Like something about my prayers must not be working. And so I just found the value in calling on those that I know God, but I know that other people have a stronger relationship or have, there are other people that have stronger relationships with God than I do. And I called on those people. I asked all of my friends to pray. I asked all of my friends to ask their moms to pray, cause I really felt like I need people with spiritual maturity right now to be praying. Like Daniel's family is very spiritual. His mother is a prayer warrior. She was praying, calling on everyone else to pray. And I just, when he did wake up, I did tell him, I feel like everyone we know is praying for us. The world, like he said, in Tanzania, people were praying for us. I feel like the world was praying for him. And so, I mean, honestly, that's the only strength that's where the strength come from, for sure.
Yeah, y'all, you're about to make me cry because I just remember both times that I'm like, I couldn't rest. It was like, oh my God, I couldn't rest when Dan was in the hospital both of those times. But I want to ask you, and before Dan gets back, you can start to answer this question, but how do you maximize now the in health moments? How do you maximize the good moments when you all are just, you're healthy and Dan's out of the hospital. He made it through life support twice.
Yeah.
And it's a new day,
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely will let him answer some of it too, because he has some really good ideas and some things that we've done over the past 2 years. But yeah, we absolutely just maximize it. There isn't a day that goes by that we don't think about 2018 or 2019, but that also helps us to maximize what is happening right now. So we just enjoy the normal everyday things. Like Daniel's mom says this, and I like took this from her, but she's always like, we don't want no excitement. Like, no, we don't want no excitement around here. Like we just want, a normal day. Like you wake up, you take a shower, you go to work, like you eat breakfast. Like those normal days are just so much richer now because we have experienced the sickness, right? And so that's just the everyday, day-to-day things that we just love. We just love spending time together. Daniel's love language has always been quality time, but I think now more so than ever, it's that time is so much more precious. And you talk a little bit about how we've done some things in Baltimore when you were well, because
yeah. So like one of our anniversaries, I decided, and I was still kind of sick then too, I think, but I decided. So this is in between the first and second time. I decided I didn't want my only memories in Baltimore to be of us being in the hospital for me or whatever. So we went. One of the doctors actually, told me about a really nice restaurant. We went there and we had a great time. We took pictures. They had a champagne vending machine. Remember that? And so it was really a good night. It was a good memory we had. Like, see how we just laughed at that. So that way, I don't believe in ever giving the devil any real room, right, to think he has any power. So even at my sickest, it was always like, well, what can I do to be defiant? Like when we do still have some love. Like last time she came and we celebrated Valentine's Day as usually generally and unless it's a Valentine's Day I got in trouble, has usually been a very like deep good time for us. And so, we didn't let it stop us that year. She came, she spent the night in the hospital. Our community, our village has been awesome. We had a friend, what I love is that my friends didn't offer to do stuff, they just did stuff. And so she was like, well, what's the address to the hospital? Okay, well, y'all be there on Valentine's Day and ordered us dinner. And we ain't talking about like from
Yeah, I think it was Surf and Turf. Shout out to Shamia.
yeah, what was it?
It was Surf and Turf.
It was
It
McCormick
was
and
Surf
Schmitz
and
though.
Turf. Just
No, I'm just saying it was a nice restaurant. I'm just saying Shamia did her thing. Anyway, so it was stuff like that. Oh, can I say this? Also, what I just did is that like the in sickness and health piece, like those days she was coming up there to Baltimore doing all that. So yeah, I'm in the kitchen, I'm cooking, I'm making some chicken wings because she liked chicken wings. So
We love
I'm
it.
just saying.
We love it. And you all came to Houston recently.
Yeah.
We did and kicked it
Yeah.
with the Watsons.
Yes.
One of my
Love
favorite
Houston.
couples, two of my favorite people. So yeah,
Comedy club. We had a good
Yeah,
time.
We
great.
did.
yeah. Natasha tell you I'm claiming first friend that love Ray. That's my man.
Yes.
That's my homie right there. He's also married to Natasha, but that's my homie.
So we do have another question. What would you all say to other couples who may be facing sickness?
I would say the biggest lesson I had to learn was that it's two sides to it. So if you're the one that's sick, it's easy for you to not realize how taxing your sickness is on the other person. And it can be a very sensitive time. And it wasn't always like, oh, we have faith and we're no no no. Nah, we just let's be very transparent for a moment to say it's tough. We had some fights in the middle of that season because and I'll say this, I didn't properly really I don't think understood all that she had to do. And I'm not talking about the stuff you see, like the running back and forth and whatever, but even emotionally, like what it was to be a young woman who had her idea of what her marriage was going to be like. And instead she got literally into order. I mean, I didn't know it came in order, like sickness and then health. I thought it was like
Health and
what we
sickness.
say health. And it was like, no, sickness. I was like, okay, bad, sick, health, sickness. And so, it was really realizing that, even with people asking about me, I started saying, yo, ask Sheikah what she needs. Because they would focus and everybody's attention was on me. And I couldn't serve her and nobody else was serving her for the most part.
Wow.
So
Yeah, I would say also for me, this definitely taught. I think it's actually pretty funny. I think my relationship with God is like God is laughing because I was someone who is kind and loving, but not very compassionate. And I remember way early on, I said like, I don't do sick, like, because come on, ladies, when men are sick, it's a different kind of
I don't know what you're talking about.
there's a different kind of babying, right? That they need when they're sick. And so I think early on, I said that like, I don't do sick. But what I really meant was, I did not know how to be extra compassionate and, rub your wounds and, just make you feel better. That wasn't the kind of affection that I was used to. And so I can hear God laughing at me now, like, look what you have. And it's for me. It's for me, right, to learn too. So I would just say to other couples, like, tap into that, tap into, being compassionate. There was a point in time, I still feel this way, but there was a point in time where I really felt like I could love Daniel back to health. Like he just needed some, quality time and some love and compassion. And I think it does make him feel better sometimes, right? But he does have a diagnosed sickness, right? A chronic illness. But there are times when just being next to him and just like rubbing him and, consoling him really goes a long way. And so just tap into your compassion and just try to really to be sensitive, more maybe than some people would be naturally sensitive.
And can I just say one last thing? I was watching a show today on muscle cars, right? And they went to a driving school. It is one particular one. And they were talking about what to do, when you hit a skid. And I feel like these periods in a marriage is that skid. And the advice was to turn into it, right? And we've all heard that one before, right? Turn into it. But then it was, and this was interesting, press the gas. You think slip, you don't press the gas, right? You think press. He said, turn into it, press the gas. And then the third one was having vision. He said you need to look at where you want the car to go and how you want the car to go. And so I think when you hit these moments, that would be, if there's like a practical giveaway, for me, it's those three things. It's like, okay, lean into the skid. Leaning into the skid, to me, is praying, right? Like we said in that class, it's rejoicing. Again, I say rejoice, like lean into the skid and don't press the brakes, so don't stop. You got to keep going. And then use God's vision to really see where y'all are going to go and just steer along the lines of where you want to go and not really where you at right there.
Yeah, I think keep the vision of where you want it to go, right? We still want all the things that we wanted when we first got married. And even throughout every appointment, we're talking to the doctors about building a family and years and months and like how long, what does this look like in 5 years? What does this look like in 7 years? And just keeping the faith, we call it faith, keeping the faith around, no, we're still going to do these things. We're still going to travel. We're still going to have a family and have children, and we're all going to travel together. And, Daniel's still going to be building a crib and, doing things with the car and just, like he's still going to be, take out the trash, like all the things. And so that, when you just said that, that's what I heard was keep the vision means don't let this steal what now you have to adjust. You may have to adjust. Daniel can't swim. That's something right now that he's not able to do. So that you have to adjust. But
keep it a stack. I couldn't swim before. Anyway,
right. Oh, right. But you can't get in the water right
now.
Right. but we're still going to travel. We might not travel, and swim, but so that's what I heard when you say keep the vision. It's like don't let it steal what you intended to have to a certain degree.
Right.
That's so good. Wow. This has been so rich. Thank you so much, guys. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Sure. Thank you all for having us. Again, you guys are family. To everyone that doesn't know, we will definitely be visiting you in Houston again soon. So thank you for having us. We really, we like sharing our story. We truly believe, like deep down inside, as hurtful as it may be sometimes, we believe that this happened to us in order to share with others. So we value these opportunities where we are able to share. We're not out of it completely. Like just because you see us, here, we're not out of it. It's a chronic illness. So it's still an ongoing thing, but we want to share our story and share our testimony. So thank you for having us. And I guess on Instagram, mine is Shekha Nadine. It's SHEKHA NADINE. And so that's my social. And this is our social media guru. You have
just listen, literally just Dan B. So literally my Instagram is @just. If you can spell just, I'm not going to tell you how to spell just. You also know how to spell Dan. And then it's the letter B and the underscore.
We also
now, anybody that can't spell that, I don't want you to follow.
You're not dropping the website and the podcast.
No,
I'll do the podcast website, www.bpodcast.com. Boom, there we go. And
also, Bacon Bash is Shekha's company, and is at baconbash.com?
It is. It's bake, the word bake, and then spell out and A-N-D and bash, BASH.com. Thank you for the shout out.
Of course, it's a wonderful company. We worked together before, and I've been to so many events. Shekha, I didn't realize you helped with my
the bridal shower.
Yeah,
of course.
It was a surprise.
Who made them trees, girl?
It was amazing.
It was my pleasure to celebrate you.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I don't even know if I ever said thank you for that. Thank you.
Right,
Sorry.
right.
Okay, I just want to hug you. Okay. And look, I brought those treats to Jamaica. I made Ray pack them up. I was like, we taking these treats to Jamaica. They were with us the whole time until
Oh
they
my
got eaten.
The whole time.
And Dan, you have a lot going on, including your awesome company, the Genius Group. So can you tell us about how to find and what you do at the Genius Group?
Oh, thank you for that too. So we help people with their digital marketing toolkits. So we have a product out now called the Playbook. I'd love to tell anybody about it. This month in March, we're actually going to be doing free business digital audits. So if you want to audit on how your business is doing across Google My Business and other listing sites like that, definitely email us at info@thegeniusgroup.org, or you can find us on Instagram at TGG247.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. We love you, and we're going to be praying for you.
God bless you.
Thank you
Thank
always.
you.
We love you guys too.
Absolutely. So, you all, that was Daniel and Shekha Bradley, our good friends. We love them. And so we're going to be wrapping this episode up. Make sure that you stay tuned because we are going to continue this conversation on in sickness and in health, even as we go into next month, March. And so stick with us, you all. We love you. We can't wait to just share some things that we have coming up in the future, right, honey?
Right, yes. There's going to be some powerful episodes going to come up in the future, so we're excited. We'd like you guys to tune in and join us.
Absolutely. Okay. We want to do this, or we want to share a prayer request?
Yes, we're going to share a prayer
Okay.
request,
Yeah.
and so I'm going to read it off.
Yeah.
It says, "Please pray with me that God will send my husband this year. I am 43 and never been married, no kids, and I desire to start my own family. I pray that my desire to be married is also God's desire for me."
Yes. So, my sister, we are with you, and we're going to pray for you before we go today. So, Settling Marriage family, let's join in prayer for our sister here who has a desire to be married. So, Heavenly Father, God, we just thank you right now for who you are. You are faithful, God, and we love you. We pray, God, that you would touch this woman's heart, God, that you would meet her need, God. Your word says that if we delight ourselves in you, then you would give us the desires of our hearts, oh God. And so we pray, God, that if it is your will for her, God, that you would send her husband, God. We know that age is nothing but a number to you. It doesn't stigmatize or prevent any plans, it doesn't prevent any plans, God, that you have for us. So we thank you that no matter if she's 43 or 44 or 45, if it's your will for her to have children, then it will come, God. And so we ask that you would just bless her, God, with those desires of her heart, Lord. And we thank you for it now, God. We bless you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right, you all. So thank you once again for joining us for this episode of Settling Marriage Podcast. We will be back next week, and we'll see you then.
God bless you.